All right. Well, welcome everyone to The Gathering. This is a space where we have imagined we all can gather and come together and explore soulful business and just the magic of collaboration and sisterhood and working together and sharing wisdom. So today we have an amazing special guest, Tanya, and we're going to talk about the business of tarot. But before we get into describing her and introducing her, I just want to jump real quick into who I am. I am Becca Berggren, and I'm a mindful marketing strategist and brand therapist with Simply Online. So that means is I work with soulful entrepreneurs, kind of the gentle souls who like coaches and healers and just creative people that are doing really cool stuff. I support them in creating a real strong brand foundation and like a soul aligned and custom strategy, marketing strategy, so that they can go out and confidently find those clients that are the perfect fit for them, but doing it with integrity and grace. So yeah, that's what I'm all about. That's what I'm up to. And then I want to introduce my co-host, co-creator, co-conspirator, Chris Ann Donnelly.
Hi, so my name is Chris Ann. Becca and I met recently on Instagram, maybe 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago. I mean, it was in the last month. And really kind of one of those match mades in heaven where you look and you say, you're doing what I'm doing and I'm doing what you're doing and I love what you're doing. And hey, what can we do to kind of make this whole sacred biz, soulful biz thing grow, right? And how can we support people better as we, because we both support business owners. And so how can we do it collaboratively and just kind of make the waves of it go a little bit farther than what we can do one-on-one with our clients every day. So that's sort of where we're at. And Tanya as well. I mean, we met on Instagram as well. So Instagram is a cool world. Social media is so wonderful for getting people to come together and finding some soulmates or some kindreds online, right? People that are doing similar things. And that is a wonderful thing. So one of the things I want to do before we get started, before we jump in, I like to just, every time I start anything, a meeting, this is a call, just to set the intention. So for me, it's just that the conversation is fluid and easy and fun, and that other people get what they need out of it. And hopefully my intention is to share all the wonderful work you're doing, Tanya, as well as maybe inspire other people to do a little more collaboration. So that would be my intention for this episode of The Gathering.
Beautiful.
So do you want to give us an introduction about the House of Tarot and what you've been up to? And I know that, has it been 2 years already that you started House of Tarot? Was it?
I started House of Tarot about 2-3 years ago and went full-time in September last year. So I've always sort of done, 2 other roles, or I was a prison officer as well as doing an office job and doing this. And I'm so bad at rules. I'm so bad at sticking to what other people tell me to do. And it was that point of, I pulled a particular card for the month of September last year, which was the 5 of Pentacles, which is financial challenges. And I thought, well, if I'm going to challenge myself, this is the month to do it. So on the 1st of September, I quit my day job and I stopped taking shifts at the prison and just threw myself into it for the month of September, and I haven't looked back. So that's basically how I roll. Is I literally do work with the cards to guide me through any challenges or any vision I have or where I want to go. I'll use my mates, my friends in the deck and draw on them for wisdom. So
amazing.
I've been doing that. Yeah. So I think I started in my 20s, and I'm 50 this year. So it's been a long journey with the cards, and I think my life without the cards wouldn't make sense. I think the cards give me meaning. Is that a dog?
Yes, you're going to hear my husband come home and my dog give a little bark.
Yeah.
There's no mute on Blab. So you know what? There's no mute. It is what it is.
Oh, yeah. No, we're fine. We're all at home. Right? There's noise.
Yeah, and I've got two dogs sitting at my feet, so.
But a little Westie. So congratulations on full time. That's amazing. And a big congratulations too on 50. You're moving into your crone years. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful.
Yeah, yeah. So,
and how did you?
Yeah. Sorry, say that again.
Oh,
Becca?
no, I was just wondering how you started with tarot. I know you said it was a while ago and your life just wouldn't make sense without it, but like, how was it introduced?
My auntie. So back in my 20s, my first reading was actually a foot reading with tarot. Like, she actually worked with my feet and pulled cards. So from that then I initiated into Reiki and started doing the whole journey, doing a whole lot of different modalities around that, which made sense because when I was really little, we lived behind a forest, so I'd get to go and sit under a tree, or any cupboard, I would sit in my cupboard. And God knows how I was allowed to do it, but I used to take candles into my cupboard and sit with a candle. And I didn't know that was meditation. I didn't know what I was doing, but I just used to sit in quiet space as often as I could because I was sort of the odd one out in the family in a nice way. And yeah, then when I got to my 20s, it just sort of all started to make sense. What I was feeling, the things I'd see, things I'd hear. And yeah, now it's just, yeah, using it in everyday life and making meaning, I guess, and helping other people sort of come into that world too and give meaning to the things that they thought there was a problem with, but actually acknowledging it as a shadow side that we need to own so we can move forward.
Yeah, and in that, so do you work with mostly just individuals coming with you to talk about their personal life, or do you work with businesses? Do you do both?
Both, yeah. Like, for example, I've got a group of 6 women on Saturday, and then I have on Sunday mother and daughters, 2 separate mother and daughters coming. I have a workshop at the end of each month, and even those groups that come together and only have 6 people come for the workshop, they will be like the last group were all to do with TV. Like, they were one's just put her own show on, like done a production. The others, yeah, it's amazing how, and then the previous group were all healers, but they all seem to come together, and you just trust that the group forms in the right way. And this group will be around coaching. So there's a lot of, it's just whoever turns up, and I know that's my energy attracting it too. Yeah, it works perfectly. So I don't go out and sort of target a market or anything like that. I don't have any strategies around that. I know that, I think the big thing starting was trusting that the business would flow. That was my feeling of not having clients coming in. Yeah, so as soon as I trusted and went, effort, sort of, excuse me, but, I did say that word and thought, no, just, and there still are quiet weeks and busy weeks, but I know that's the flow. I know that's the lesson I need to learn, and I love that because the downtimes give me time to play, and then the times where I have a lot of clients coming in, that's the time. Yeah, it flows beautifully now. Yeah,
a giant lesson to learn for sure. There's a little thing that I keep seeing going around on Instagram, and it's something like a wise woman once said, "F it," and they lived happily ever after. Right?
Yes. It's so like learning to work with surrender, right? Like, and having faith and trust. Yeah, I think that's a challenge for a lot of us.
Yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah.
And so
I think
I have a very tarot question for you. I'm so curious if you have a favorite deck.
I started with the Mythic deck.
Yeah.
Although when I lived in England for a little while, and I got a very old deck that I found really hard to make sense of. But then when I found the Mythic deck, that the stories and the mythology, that captured me. That was it. That was amazing. And of course, I had the Rider-Waite. I love the Sun and Moon deck by Vanessa de Court. And I'm loving 78 Coins by Lara Zelna. She's a tattoo artist.
Okay. I haven't seen that one. And the Sun and Moon is it's very cute, right? It's sort of these cute drawings. It's Australian, I believe.
Yes.
Yes.
I think it's from Belgium.
Oh, is it? Okay.
I think Vanessa, US Games took over the rights to the deck because I contacted her to use one of her cards for my sister's a psychologist. I'm a tarot reader. We do workshop together, and I contacted her if I could use her card or an image, and she said no, contact US Games. So yeah, she's from Europe somewhere. Yeah, but I love that deck. I think it's gentle, and for a lot of people to see the gentleness of it, it doesn't scare them as much as sometimes the Mythic can, because it's quite dark. Yeah, and it changes. I'll pick up a different deck depending on the client. And if they have a deck of cards, I like to use a different deck to what they have, because then they'll see the reading differently to what they would, they can't look into it as much. So it's good to play around with the different decks.
Oh, for sure. I lost your video for a second, but I see it coming back.
We can still hear you fine, but
it's perfect. That's I think it's sort of cool, the conversation around the fear piece, right? Like people still come to you for readings, but they have fear at the same time. That's very interesting to me that people would do that.
Yeah, I actually had a call last night from the lady that's coming with her daughter. And she said, I'm really skeptical about this, but you've come highly recommended, so I'm just going to trust that this is the right thing to do. And I said, well, come with that skepticism. That's a good place to be. Use that as the stepping stone. Then we can look at the shadow side of that. We can look at the other side of how are you so open to this that you just don't know it yet. And she must be ready for change too, otherwise she wouldn't be coming either. And her daughter's about 15, so her daughter's got the openness to it. So even they're reflecting the light and the dark within their relationship. So it'll be. I love it because I was skeptical too. My mentor is Shirley MacLaine. So when she used to, she was skeptical about a lot of things, but because she travelled and I read all her books, and I was almost travelling with her and learning through her too. So yeah, I love a skeptic. I love people that come and say this is crazy or whatever. Okay, bring it on.
I love that.
Yeah, and especially men too. They come more with, I don't know what this is about, but I've heard that, and more so it's just word of mouth. That's my main way of, I guess, marketing and doing that sort of thing. I rarely do anything in terms of advertising or anything like that. But when the guys come, they're fascinating because they just sort of sit there and go, well, what are you going to do? And then it's the body language changes and they get closer and closer and closer to the table and they go, it's fantastic. I love it.
I love it. One question I'd love to know more about is can you do or do you do readings on businesses or for entrepreneurs related to their business?
Yeah. I've got different clients. There's Jamal jumping up on me. I have clients and we do shares, just looking at shares, their share portfolio. So we'll go through, how the market's going. It's fascinating. I know nothing about the share market, but we'll sit down and pull cards around that. There's a lady, like I do have readings, and they're starting businesses. I literally do have clients that come and we don't even use the cards. We'll just sit down and do coaching around their businesses and building, and they're farmers markets and things like that around this area. So they've all got this really creative side to them. It's a real mix of how that works. So yeah, did I answer that question?
Definitely. I was just thinking about if there were certain things that people come to talk to you about their business that you find common, or
it'll always come back to, even though we'll talk about the business as a whole, it will always come back to the inner child and any fears around moving forward with what they still hold. That's why this photo behind me with the inner child, because it all stems from that. So if there's a fear around recognition, being accepted into the community or stepping up or whatever it might be, all from the inner child. So we always end up going back to that age group between 1 and 7. It could be birth, like literally being born sometimes is still the fear of them coming out of the womb and being born into this lifetime. So, and a lot of them go, it's just a relief for them to go, wow, I've always felt I resist being here. And now that you've said it in that way, that I can go and actually sit with my inner child in the womb and encourage that love and connection so that I can move forward now. It's humbling for me to sit here and watch people actually move through those things. So, and I've got goosebumps now in talking about it. That makes me emotional too. It's amazing. So it doesn't matter if it's business, and even when I was doing the coaching, executive coaching, whatever, it still comes back to the inner child. It doesn't matter what level, CEO, it's always the inner child driving the bus. So, and they're too small to drive the bus. They should be. Yeah. So, and that's the thing with this business for me, is one of my top values is freedom and fun. So if something's not fun for me, then I won't do it. I won't do it.
For that.
So yeah. So I was talking to a friend last night and we were saying that, and she said, yeah, you only, like if I have to say post so many blogs or do so many things and do it, I probably wouldn't do it if it didn't sit with me, if I really didn't feel authentic with what I was doing. So yeah, I do what I feel I need to do and what I feel contributes to the higher cause, because if I was doing it just for the sake of doing it, I don't think I'd be contributing in a way that really serves me and who I am.
Yeah, you have a lot of head nods over here. We're like,
oh yeah.
Something I did want to ask you too. So it sounds like you definitely have a little more training than just simply tarot. So what else do you bring into your bag of tricks when you're, with folks?
Yeah, I do love the coaching side, drawing that in. I think when I was doing the spiritual work, that's always just been a way of me making sense of the world on a spiritual level. And then when the coaching came in, it was like, oh, there's the same thing going on in a corporate world. So it was like the left and right brain. So the coaching became the left functional side of me that made sense. And then the spiritual side was the right brain. And the two of them have really come together. And I think that's a beautiful space to work from. And the detachment from it as well, so that I can just sort of observe where people are at through coaching eyes and through Reiki, like watching energy, watch their auras change as they sit in the chair, watch the movement around the room, watch the messages that come, whoever might be present for them in the room. If that's strong, then we'll talk about that. So there's, there was a reading one day and there was a young girl sitting here and it was just, there was her grandfather showing me a pair of shoes. And I said, I'm not sure what this is about, but they're showing me a pair. And she went, oh, I have far too many shoes. I buy a lot of shoes. And Granddad always said that I used to buy too many shoes. And I said, well, you still are. So maybe you need to back off. And she just laughed her head off and said, I'm done. That's all I needed. I think she just wanted something real in that way. And not everyone comes for that. It depends on the client and what comes in. So, yeah, and again, it's fun. I try and take that fear out. Well, it naturally happens anyway because Spirit wants us to have fun. Sometimes we can take it all so seriously. But I find the more fun I bring into it and and I openly say the F word and I'll swear and I'll say whatever I feel I need to say. And it sort of lifts the lid on it all and it's this, okay, let's be real. Let's now use this every day moving forward, not just in the reading, but walking out the door and keep using it.
So you hit on a ton of different things. You have a whole bailiwick of tools that you bring into your readings. They're not just I mean, it sounds to me like you're looking at energy, you're talking to people on the other side if they're around. Like those are some amazing gifts. You have your clients must be thrilled.
Well, I think I do believe we all have those.
Yes.
I really do. I think that's and I think that's what comes with the fun. If I got too serious about, I would shut all that down.
Yeah.
I know that if I was too scared or thinking about what I needed to say or am I seeing the right thing or am I hearing, because I know that was all part of the road to get here. But the more I let go of that, and we're all capable of doing it. We're all doing that now. We're all tuning in on certain levels and picking up on what's happening. It's just a matter of putting it out there on the table and saying, okay, let's play a bit more with this.
Absolutely. That's that. I think entrepreneurship for me has pushed me to really start. I mean, it was probably, it was one of the things that pushed me to really start listening to intuition, like very seriously. Right? Yeah. As soon as you stop, it's, you make a mistake.
Yeah. I think as soon as we start wanting something external to drive us and we start listening to our inner guide, that's where I think we shut off, because if we start comparing ourselves to others, wanting what others have, thinking we're not good enough because we're not that particular look or whatever it might be, that's our way of, and there's that incongruency that can happen when you start to feel off kilter or, and I'll still do that. Like I'll still check in and go, oh, hang on a minute, what's that slight variance that I've just felt then that you might have felt it in my throat chakra or my heart chakra, whatever chakra I'm working with. So I'll sit down and meditate on that. And it only needs to take a second. It only needs to take just a moment to check in on that little girl again and, make sure she's okay and bring her with me and say, okay, let's move forward.
Can you guys hear that?
Yeah, there's little bubbles coming off the screen.
Oh, those are our little like high fives. We could give each other. If we click on, it's like we give each other props. We're like,
those were some very wise words, right? As soon as we start talking about the way we always we don't feel enough and all of that. Gosh, that's it just gives me shivers because so many people work from that space all the time, right? So it's lovely to be able to work people through that and to watch people come through that.
Yeah, and I think
so
so cool.
It is.
Yeah, when you're in business for yourself and, it's all on you, that's when we really have to, like you were saying, you kind of have to listen in. You have to, you don't have a choice at that point. And that's, it's required for me, because like you were saying, Chris, like if I'm not listening, that's when I notice things go all haywire. And it's like so clear. I'm like, haven't been meditating in a few days, or haven't been stopping and being still and like really checking in with my body. And yeah, it makes like a difference. It's kind of amazing. It's our big, like in a previous Blab, we had one of our friends on, and she was just saying how business can be our medicine, right? It's really our healing tool.
That's true. It's true. And anybody that comes into our sphere too, they're all our lesson, aren't they? Like even animals, nature, everything's a lesson around. You can even have a good coffee and a bad coffee. That can adjust your day or your compass. It's incredible whatever we react to. Wonderful lesson.
Well, another thing I would love to know is, you've started doing this now as your full-time business. What have you, I guess, is there any advice you could give anybody about starting a tarot business, or any words of wisdom, learnings, any of that?
Yeah, I think for me it was just do it, mark a date and do it. And there is a lot of trust around taking that step and leap of faith. And it's, I think, just backing yourself 100% every day. And there's always, and it's a coaching thing that I do too, but even just looking up, literally just looking up into the visual cortex so that we can stay visually focused and creative in where we want to go. And if we drop our heads, we go down into our kinesthetic and our feelings. So there can be a lot of sometimes negative talk that comes up from there. So a simple tool for me is, I am feeling a bit lost, I literally look up and find ideas. There's always something.
That is so interesting. And I say that, well, I just did it right now. I say that because I was looking, reviewing a previous video we had recorded, and I'm like, wow, I am looking up a lot in that thing. Most of the time, I'm like, I can't remember. I looked up in like a certain direction the whole time. I'm like, oh, what's going on there? That's so interesting. I don't know.
Retrieval.
I'm consciously doing it, but my brain knows. My spirit knows what's going on.
Yeah. And I think too, having a good team around, supportive group of friends, or and knowing who your tribe is, because as soon as you do have someone that's going to question what you're doing, if you haven't stepped into your congruency enough, that can easily just push you back 10 paces, and then you'll go, oh gosh, even it can be really, just a certain look can trigger some old patterns moving backwards. So yeah, having a good team, or even if it's not real people, being online and having that supportive community around Instagram and things like that, I think that's even enough. If you haven't got a huge amount of people that you're working with yet. So yeah, there's a lot. We're so lucky.
I mean, and yeah, that's why we're here right now. I think we all were feeling this real, and it's not just us. There's a lot of people right now really reaching out more than ever before, I think, and realizing that is what that's what's going to help us move forward, all of us together, like to where we want to be and grow and evolve and all of that. So yeah, it's the collaboration and the just support of people who understand where you are and what you're doing, and they get you, like just that.
Yeah, and I think too there's there's a lot of tarot readers. There's a lot of people doing the same thing, but it's recognizing that we're all unique and we'll all have a different take on what we bring to the table with what we do. So, someone says, oh, there's 10 people, or, there's so many people already doing that. Well, no, not like you do it, or not like that particular person does it. That's the beauty of it. And then that opens up all of that to draw that energy in.
Yes, yes, yes. I mean, you know, in our world, Chris and I have like, there are 1 zillion business branding coaches, you know, but we're totally different.
Yeah, not like you two. Yeah, not the way that you would do it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it takes a certain, usually it's a certain amount of time in business before people feel comfortable. Like they're sort of, okay, they've got their groove and they found their, you know, they found their rhythm and their tribe and their people and it's often the people that are new that are so afraid to collaborate with people that are in their same space. And so I am always, you know, whenever someone is starting out and they come to me, I'm like, just, you know, go out and find someone in your space. And even if they're super busy and you're not, then when they're too busy and they're double booked, they'll send the clients to you or whatever, right? Like it's such a good idea, but not even just for like a business reasons, of course. I mean, gosh, just the idea flow and the ability to come up with something that you could never come up with as just one mind, right?
Yeah. And it's, when I run the workshops, it's, you know, I would hope that people would go out and start their own tarot business, you know, and I'd be great if they started up next door. Like that would be wonderful if there'd be a whole tarot community living next door to each other. You know, it's all possible. Anything's possible.
Yeah. You could do tea together. It makes it way more fun, for sure. Yeah. So how did you, when you were starting your business, how did you decide for tarot? Because tarot's sort of this, I mean, a lot of businesses are like this, but tarot in particular, there's a price, like the pricing can be from here to sky's the limit, right? How did you approach your pricing? How did you figure that out? That intrigues me because in your business, it's so all over the place.
When I started the coaching, that gave me a different way of looking at the pricing, but I still reverted back to, I would sit with a figure, write it down and feel it. That's it with me. And then I adjust it. And that's the way I've done it, because when I was doing the coaching and they said, oh, it's $300, you know, it was crazy amounts per hour. And I went, well, that, for me, that's not what I want to charge. So I would stick with, and to be honest, a lot of not everyone, but it was a good indicator for me. A lot of people in the coaching world said tarot won't work. And that was even interesting to hear. Okay. Yeah. And I treated it as that. It was interesting. And yeah, so, and I sit with the pricing. Does it feel right? Do I put it up? And I literally write it down, sit with that figure, feel it, and then adjust it accordingly. But I'll always sit with it, and that's what I do with clients, and we'll write the figure down. How does that work for you? Oh, it's a bit too low. Okay, let's put it up. How does that figure sit with you? Yeah, that feels better. And that's literally how we work it. So we don't really work it out in a business sense of this is how much we need to be earning or anything like that. It's more around what are we congruent with? How does it sit with me? And, you know, when will the next increase be, or what will, you know, and again, it's been sitting with each step of the way. Because I think if you do it by a book and think that this is how it's meant to be, it's separate to you then. It's not something that you own and you can actually feel and embrace and, you know, feel good about. So, it's, you know, if you charge $500 an hour and you can grow it with that, that's awesome. Then charge $500 an hour. Yeah, and the more confident and the more, you know, you put your prices up because you're authentic with that too.
Yeah. Beautiful business model. Yeah, really, really cool to kind of sit with it and allow your clients to sit with it as well.
And it's interesting how quickly that can increase with the more, the more time that they sit with it and go, no, I'm ready for the next step. So there's more times that we'll sit and say, we'll talk about how they can underestimate their worth. We'll have to work with that first. before we can get to the point of actually going, okay, now let's sit with the pricing. Because, you know, a lot of people can go, oh, no, I can't charge that much. Okay, let's look at your Five of Pentacles, or let's look at where the fear around money is. And again, it will go back to the inner child. And then once we've sat with that, it's just like, oh, wow, there's so much more freedom around what I can charge when they work with that.
I need one of those. I need one of those.
Very good.
Yeah. And it is.
I don't want to pull the Five of Pentacles. I hate that card.
That Five of Pentacles, when you think, oh, you know, the Hierophant looks after all the fives. And so the Hierophant's all about your moral compass. So you think when you can tune into that moral compass and go, well, no, there's my north, there's my passion, then it helps you understand why we choose the fives to be challenged by. So, yeah, and it's remembering that nothing's broken, we're just transitioning. So it's, knowing that we will get through the five and we'll move on to the 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah.
Beautiful. So it seems like tarot is so much a part of your world that sort of every situation in life is reflected to you. It's like you live and breathe the symbols and the characters and the stories. Is that accurate?
Yeah, like we hardly know each other. You're spot on. I everything in my day, I see a card. You know, there's I'll not that I draw very well, I just doodle more than anything, but you know, even when I do that, I don't sit down with an intention, but by the time I've finished, I'll go, oh, that's the 9 of Cups, or that's justice, or it'll always have come to a point where, I look at the dogs and I'll see the cards. I'll look at certain people and there's a card sitting right next to them. Okay.
I want your filter that you see the world through with. I want to put that on as glasses. Really cool.
Yeah, it is fun. It is fun. And even, you know, watching entrepreneurs with their King of Swords and their, you know, the Queen of Swords, the Wands. They're, you know, I'm Libra, so I'm the King of Swords in my deck. So I can see the world with very functional, you know, eyes. And when I watch entrepreneurs with their fire, and I do have people that come that have got amazing businesses, and they open up another vision into the card. I remember at a workshop we had someone in the workshop said, I had an idea and that person took it, and, you know, I was so gutted when they ran with my idea and that was mine. So I turned to the lady who I knew was a fire sign and an entrepreneur, and I said, did you just hear what she said? And she went, no. And I said, what meaning did you give that? And she said, well, no one can take your idea. You just go on with the next one. So it was a really good way to see these cards sitting in the room and how they could own them. So there was the Queen of Wands sitting there with one of the sword cards, and it would have been the Five of Swords, thinking there was a problem. But she was already on to the next year. So it was great for them to be able to sit in that too, and for that lady to see that lady and go, oh, okay, I can do it that way. I said, yeah, you start working with your fire energy and you won't have a problem. There will be never, you know, you'll find something else. The universe will always provide the next step for you. So, yeah.
So good.
It's fun.
Beautiful. I love
it. You know, another question.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, another question I was wondering too, other than working like, you know, one-on-one with people and in groups and workshops, do you have anything else going on or planned or future ideas for taking where you're going to take tarot or what you're going to do with it? Or
well, I'm living in the country. I've got my house on the market now, And I've been here 7 years. So this is just me working with the 7-year energy of moving. So I'm going to move back to the city. I'm not sure what the energy is that I'm moving back to, but I'm open to whatever comes. So yeah, I know the city will bring a whole. I mean, I've got people now wanting to book, and I'm thinking I haven't even sold the house yet, so I need, and they'll come here anyway. But I'm not sure what it is, and I'm not. If I thought too much about it, I'd probably take a deep breath and go, and be scared about it. So I'm just letting that flow. Whatever happens when I get to the city, I know it's going to be, and it'll be working with more people because naturally there's more people around.
And do you just do in person?
Yeah, and I'd love to.
Do you just do in person?
Sorry, say that again, Becca.
Do you just do in-person work, or do you ever do over the phone or on video, or is it only one-to-one?
Yeah, in person, Skype.
Oh, we're losing your sound. Yes. We're losing Becca. I think she was asking if you just do in-person calls or if you do Skype or phone.
Yeah, Skype I do, phone as well.
Yeah.
They're the main two face-to-face. Or I go, because we're where I live, it's called Spa Country. So we have a lot of holiday accommodation. So I'll go to the people's holiday houses. And read from there too. So
beautiful.
Yeah. I think I would love to go and work with corporates and do tarot in their offices.
Yes.
So that's something. Yeah, that's the next something that I'd love to do. I mean, I've done readings, and when I have too many in the group, I'll get another tarot reader who I really admire. So we'll do it together, and he does hand readings as well. So when it's too big for me, I'll get him to come in. So we've done, big corporations, but it's been more a fun thing for them.
Yeah, for sure.
As well, yes, it is fun. But look at the personality traits within the cards and how you can understand them more and understand others and be more, have more empathy about where they're coming from, I guess, and seeing people with a bigger view. Yeah. That's probably the next thing that I'd like to do.
You could really get in there and work on their group dynamics and play with them a lot. And so in Australia, is corporate Australia open to that kind of thing? I've never heard of anything like that happening here in Canada. Maybe in California. You guys are more.
Well, we've worked with them here in Dalesford when they come for their group team, their team meetings, and they've followed. I've received their emails. They've found me online. For me to go to their offices as a real thing rather than a team building, rather than I'll let you know.
Yes. Yeah. Good luck. I think it's amazing. It's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
So are you going to, I always see your doodles on Instagram, and I keep wondering if you're making a deck because your drawings are really cool, and you could just, it's one of my, I think I've asked you that on Instagram before. When's the deck?
Yes. And that's something else I'm working on too, is an online course. I forgot to mention that. So yes, one day I'd love to turn those images into, I so admire people that create decks that sit down at 78 cards. It's amazing. In January this year at one of the workshops, a lady came along and said, do you realise how much information you give out in a workshop? We could turn that into an online course. And I'd been thinking about that, and my card for that month was the Page of Wands, and there she turned up. So she's doing the online thing for me, and she's been pushing me too to do the deck. So she's using my drawings within the online course. So that's a little fun project that, again, if I made it too serious and thought, right, I had to get that done, I wouldn't do it,
Yes.
so I wouldn't do it. So it's just a small project that I enjoy doing at the moment.
Awesome. Well, when your deck, when it evolves and flows and happens,
Yeah.
however long it takes, please let us know. I would love one of your decks because your drawings are so whimsical and fun, and there's a certain, there's kind of a joy or a happiness about them. I don't know what it is, but you've got, and your symbolism is unique. It's not Rider-Waite-Smith. You use a total, you kind of bring your own.
Yeah.
You bring your own thing.
And like I said, on one of the drawings, if someone said, "Can you sit down and draw for me?" I'd look like a 2-year-old had just done it. But when I can just pick up a pen and lose myself in what I'm doing, I have no idea where it's going to go. And then it just turns out, and then I'll put the pen down and go, "Oh, that's interesting." I do lose myself completely. And then whatever happens, happens. So thank you. Yeah, it's just what I call my meditation, because it really is a time I just lose track of time, and yeah. And it's interesting, I only ever use black pen. So that's why I've got my sign is in black and white as well. And I guess that's that Libra trait as well, just the black and white. I really like the simplicity of it. My sisters are always saying, "Colour in there. Why don't you colour it in?" I go, maybe you could colour it in. Maybe it could be a colouring thing that they want to do. Yeah.
That's amazing.
I will keep you in touch.
Yes, please. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I mean, Instagram is good for that, right? I mean, as far as just the consistent imagery.
Yeah.
I wonder, for people that are starting to read tarot, because is it just me, or there's a massive influx of tarot going on in the last few years? I've noticed it, but then I thought, is it my perception because I'm paying more attention, or is it actually, it feels like there's a lot more.
Yeah. And we do draw to us what we're looking for. There was a lady that emailed me, might have sent it on Instagram, a lady that emailed me to say thank you about a reading from 2 years ago, and that her daughter had bought, do you have Dolly magazine over there? It's a teenage magazine that we have. And I was reading it, when I was 15 or something, so it's still going. And her daughter had bought the magazine, and they had tarot cards in there. So she pulled the cards out and said, "Can you pull a card, Mum?" And she pulled the swords. And I had posted in my newsletter the sword. And so it brought up our reading. So I went and bought the Dolly magazine and pulled out the cards, and they've deleted the devil and death. And I thought, that's interesting, that they're, even in this society, in this day and age, the editors or publishers still feel the need to take out those two cards. So I'm sort of tempted to write to them and just say, transformation and commitment and sex and things like that. And they did have an article on sex in the magazine, so it's not as if they fear talking about sex, but it's still interesting how for whatever reason they decided to take those two cards out, which is a shame, because then kids won't get the full of what the tarot
you can't just take those.
That's no. And I'm sure the guy that did the actual interpretations, he wouldn't have had a say. He would have just had to have followed with what the guidelines were from the editors. So it's
especially the death card, right? Because it's so powerful as far as rebirth and transformation, and that seems like that would be a great one to talk about, right?
Exactly.
I mean, all of them. They could have left out some of those. Pentacles.
Well, they had the major arcana and just the 4 elements. So the 4 aces. So there were 20 major arcana and 4 elements. So, but I guess, and then I thought, okay, where's my judgment on how do I own that? How do I bring that, rather than seeing it as an external, how do I work with it? So, I've got in the back of my mind to contact them and just question what was their reason around doing that, just to find. I'm curious about that, because when I do get 15-year-olds come for readings, that, my gosh, they're more open than, God, I was at that age. I just think, they've got, they've, like I always say, children are vibrating higher than their parents, vibrating higher than us. So they've got so much more energy to work with in terms of their learnings around life. So I think they're more than open to learn about the death and the devil. Yeah.
What would the average age of your clients be? Or is it you have all ages?
Yeah. Like on the readings on Sunday, I'm going to have 15 and 80. Yeah. So,
awesome.
And then there'll be, the women's group will be 35, I'd say. So, it's a big cross section, male, female, really. I don't have a sort of a target market in that area.
No.
Yeah.
And is there one topic that people come to you over and over and over again for?
When it will be love.
I was imagining, but I wasn't.
Yeah. And it's always, we keep getting deeper and deeper into it. It's never about the relationship with the person they're with or who they want to be with. It's always about the love they have for themselves, and when they can really understand that on a deep level, then they'll learn how to love externally.
Yeah. I was at a course on the weekend, and they had this beautiful spiral image of it was just a spiral, and they were talking about us continuously kind of growing, and we'll hit the same problem over and over and over again, and we fix it, but then we hit it at a deeper level, right? We always have that.
Yes.
I thought I'd fixed something, and I was like, this again, right? Like this. Same things come up, right? Because we run into them.
Yes, and that's what I say in a reading too. If this card's coming out now, if it comes out in the next reading, that means you're learning it on a deeper level. So, that's why I love them so much, because they just keep changing. Every reading there'll be something about what the next layer is for that particular person. And so it's never boring, it's always, I'm always learning. I don't think I will never, ever stop learning something new every day about the cards. That's why I like even saying that, as I sit here, they're laughing with me, giving me goosebumps, saying, isn't it fun? Isn't it exciting? And it really is. It's and it will go into lifetime and lifetime. I think that's the magic of it. Yeah. And how amazing we are as people, what we're here to do, what this lifetime is all about. You guys doing what you do and doing it with all your heart and sharing that with other people. It's such a gift.
Thank you.
Just people a part of yourself in that way.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you. That's nice to hear. For sure. Yeah, there's I've found more in the last, I would say, in the last 2 years, Becca and I have talked about this, that people are coming and they're much more open for deeper discussions. Like, they're talking about their personal branding, but they're absolutely open to, why can't I brand the way I want? And let's look at that, right? Because there's that sort of, it's all the same story, right? Whether they're learning it through tarot, or they're learning it through their personal branding, or their fear of putting themselves out there.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that is a reflection of where you're both at, because you're more open, you're attracting clients that are more open to it. The more open you become, the more that resonates and the more energy you draw. Yeah, it really does. It makes you realize how much potential we have around us. Like, if like it says in quantum physics, we would explode with all the energy if we took it all in. So
Yes.
by focusing on what's important, then that's what we draw to us. So yeah, the potential is incredible about what we can manifest. So it really is that thing. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it becomes more and more fun.
Yes. More.
Right? We just more and more joyful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And I had a lady, a friend, who she said to me yesterday, how do you, she read my newsletter and she said, how are you so passionate about what you do? And I went, wow, I just do it. And it was a really good question because, you know, she's loves painting flowers and she's amazing at it. Just left the corporate world and she's just thrown herself and immersed herself into this. And that finding what you do, passion's such a big word too, I think. It's a one-sided word because it means always up. The beauty of knowing that you will have the shadow side of that is the passion, I think, and knowing that I'm just as passionate about the lows as I am about the highs. And yeah, again, it's that trust that we're being guided and taken care of every step of the way.
Now that is a cool conversation, the shadow side of passion. I've never thought about it before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's so much passion on the internet, you know, living your passion and doing this and which is fantastic. But there's some days you don't want to get out of bed. Or, you know, I'm watching your seasons going into the spring and we're going into winter now. I'm just thinking, yeah, this is, you know, another shift in the energy that we're all working with. So, you know, when you've got energy going on that side of the world that's vibrant and growth, and we have the closing down phase on the internet, there's, you know, it is fascinating. Like when I was growing up, we didn't have the internet. There was nothing like this that I sort of communicated with. And now it takes your breath away a little bit, that there's so many things you can sort of identify with. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. It brings us all much closer together, that's for sure. And allows us to find the people that we need to find. It's sort of we're connected, and I find the internet is I mean, it really is, if we want to talk about the energy of it, it just makes it so much easier to directly connect with people very quickly and, you know, get a sense of who they are and then do this sort of collaboration thing, right? Or, you know, it's just it's the way of the world now. We're speeding up that way.
I was speaking of connecting and all that, like, how do clients find you, or how do they connect with you? Is it referrals? Is it word of mouth? Or
it's mainly word of mouth and referrals. And the website is great too. So I've got great my ex is actually my web guy, so he's fantastic.
Awesome.
He helped me because I had before this a dog walking business, and he did the website for that and got me started on that. So when I wanted this website done, of course I went straight back to him and said, can you do my website? So he's helped me, even business names and domain names and things like that. It's been fantastic. But no, it's mainly return people and word of mouth. Yeah. And I've got a sign out the front too now, so that's another way that people are coming in as well.
So spontaneously they'll choose to come in and that's
yeah. So they'll pull up out the front. I've got by appointment, but they'll still come and knock on the door, and that's great too. If I'm here,
that's really cool.
That's fantastic. Yeah. And often that's a new relationship that gets built, and you know, we go from there. So, and that's where the beauty is. If they're driving through, then we can do Skype or phone.
Right. They don't have to actually be living in your town at all times. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if they want to find you, they look up House of Tarot.
Yes.
Would that be what they would look up? And what's your website?
houseoftarot.com.au. Yeah.
houseoftarot.com.
.au.
.au.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So we'll just put it in the sidebar there.
Oh, cool. Thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right.
So with what you're doing with your businesses, what's the next step for you guys?
Good question.
Oh, the question. We were just talking about we've been we seem to surround ourselves with folks that are onto the what's next question, you know, and I think both Chris and I are there, and I can speak for myself. You know, I work one-on-one with clients, and you know, in long-term commitment packages, so like, you know, 3 months to 6 months, and I want to move on a little past that, right? I want to grow beyond that, and so I'm looking into options. So is it courses, in, you know, large courses, small courses? Is it group programs? I've looked at all those, but then I also have this crazy idea about building a huge collaborative of kind of, this is like, feels like the seed of it, right? Like a space online where people can go and get support and ideas and wisdom, but it's all super soulful women supporting each other. And everybody's, you know, getting something yummy and delicious out of it. So, you know, I have this big vision for that, and then, you know, offshoots of that into real live meetups that come from that, you know, real personal connections, or on video, or, you know, whatever it may be. So anyway, we'll see what happens there.
Yeah. And even as you're saying that, your aura is changing around you.
I just, it's, I've had that in my head since October of last year. This idea came to me, and I went on this like mad, crazy, creative like fest of like thinking of all the possibilities and strategically how it could work, and like who I'd want in it and all that. And I put it on the back burner for a bit because it just felt a little big for me at the time. You know, it felt more than I alone could handle. But it's interesting that in doing that, I'm craving obviously collaboration and, you know, more of this. And then when Chris came into my life a few weeks ago on Instagram, I was like, it started bringing this up again, you know, so it's great. It's really ignited some new creativity and momentum, and it's lovely.
Yeah. Well, I'll be there.
Yes. Yeah. It's funny because I had the idea of kind of somehow doing something collaborative, and I didn't know if it was starting to build out courses, and not sure I want to do them by myself, because, you know, it's kind of it can be solitary, right? When you're doing your own thing, and even if you hire people, it's not the same as working with people, right? So there's this whole togetherness that I was craving as well. But right now, my big thing is I'm doing an Oracle deck that's almost done, and it's specific to creators, right? It's for creators. It's to creators and entrepreneurs and kind of more people that are actively in the build phase and trying to figure out where they want to go. So it's bringing in the strategic side, you know, of all the working with people that I've done over the last 13 years, and then trying to bring in a tool. I've wanted to have this tool forever, like this sort of, you know, I use Oracle decks, but none of them are specific to business. So it was always making them work. So I was like, I'm going to create this because it doesn't exist. So that's kind of my, it's almost done soon.
Yeah.
So that's next for me. After that, who knows, right?
Yeah.
Like it's kind of things just spiral.
Yeah, exactly. I know when I lived on King Island, met an author over there, and he's very quantum, very what do you call it when they're into numbers? Sacred geometry. And I learned a lot from him. And then the last book that he wrote, he actually put tarot in it. He actually, and that goes into universities and things like that. So it's even you don't know who you're even speaking to or connecting with that it's going to make a difference, and then your energy then builds on from there. It can't help itself, can it? Once you've got the inspiration,
you just start, right?
Yes, the momentum carries it. Yep, it's exciting.
Well, we're at 9, so we've gone actually more than our full hour. It just kind of,
we tend to do this, but we can't help it.
Yeah, thank you for thinking of me and for asking me to come and meet you guys. It's been fantastic.
Yes, thank you.
So comfortable, and so you're awesome. You really are. It's a really loving, nurturing space, and I'm grateful for that.
We're losing audio, or I'm losing audio. I'm not sure.
Yes,
but,
thank you. This has been so lovely.
So moving forward from here.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and sign us off.
Oh, does that automatically cut off?
Oh, we lost Becca.
Bye.